All right, let's get into it. Winning a big bet, it's an amazing feeling, right? But here's the thing. Cashing that ticket is actually just the start. Keeping that money? Well, that's a whole other story, and it is way more complicated than you'd think.
So let's say you won some money on the NCAA championship. First off, congrats. But I've got a question for you, and it's probably one you haven't thought about. Did you know that the app you used to place that winning bet could make a huge difference in how much cash you actually get to keep?
And we're talking about a lot of money here. The scale is just mind-boggling. Americans bet over $3.3 billion on the tournament using traditional sportsbooks. And on top of that, another $230 million got poured into these newer platforms, prediction markets like Kalshi. This isn't some side hobby anymore. It's a massive industry with some seriously murky rules.
Okay, so to really get why your payout gets so messy, you have to understand that we're dealing with two totally different worlds of wagering. You've got your traditional sportsbooks on one side and these new prediction markets on the other.
And look, the difference sounds simple, but it is absolutely crucial. With a sportsbook like DraftKings, it's classic. You're betting against the house. They set the odds, you place your bet, and if you win, they pay you out. Simple. But on a prediction market like Kalshi, you're not really betting. You're buying and selling something called event contracts with other people, kind of like you trade stocks.
So what the heck are these event contracts? Just think of them like tiny little financial instruments. If you believe something is going to happen, say your team wins, you buy a contract. The price of that contract moves up and down between $0 and $1, based on what everyone else in the market thinks. If you're right and the event happens, that contract is worth $1. If you're wrong, it's worth $0. This little detail changes everything.
All right, let's start with the path most people know, the sportsbook. So you won on DraftKings. The tax rules here are, a bit more settled, but that doesn't mean they're on your side. Let's see how the IRS looks at your winnings.
On the surface, the IRS rule is pretty straightforward. Your gambling winnings are just ordinary income. That means they get taxed at whatever your highest tax rate is, just like the money you make from your job. So if you're in the 24% tax bracket, boom, 24% of your winnings go to Uncle Sam. But wait, it gets worse.
And here is where things get really painful for most people. See, the only way you can deduct your gambling losses is if you itemize your deductions on your tax return. The problem? Thanks to recent tax law changes, almost 90% of taxpayers just take the standard deduction now, which means the vast majority of people can't deduct a single penny of their losses.
Let me walk you through an example, because this is just brutal. Let's say over the course of the year you win $10,000. Great, but you also lose $10,000. So at the end of the day, your net profit is $0. You broke even, right? Wrong. If you take the standard deduction, you can't write off those 10 grand in losses. That means you owe income tax on the full $10,000 you won, even though you didn't actually make any money. It's what they call phantom income. And some states are even meaner. North Carolina, for instance, won't let you deduct any losses at all. Ouch.
Okay, so let's switch gears. If you win on a platform like Kalshi, you step into a whole different universe of confusion. I'm calling it the prediction market puzzle. The problem here isn't a harsh rule, it's that there are basically no clear rules at all. It's like you're playing a high-stakes guessing game with the IRS.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The IRS, they just haven't said anything. There's no official guidance on how you're supposed to handle this stuff. And get this, even the platforms themselves, Kalshi and Robinhood, they don't help you figure it out. You are completely on your own come tax time.
So what in the world are people supposed to do? Well, tax experts have kind of landed on 3 possible ways to report your winnings, which means you, the taxpayer, have to pretty much place another bet on which method the IRS will eventually say is right.
So here are your options. The one that most experts seem to like is treating these as Section 1256 contracts. All you need to know is that this gives you a really nice blended tax rate. 60% of your gains are taxed at the lower long-term rate. The second option is to just treat it like you sold stock, as a standard capital gain. And the last option is to treat it exactly like a sportsbook win, as ordinary income. Each path has totally different results for your tax bill.
But you know what? All of this confusion over taxes is really just a symptom of a much bigger fundamental problem. The real fight isn't just about taxes. It's about who even gets to make the rules for these platforms in the first place. And that has started a massive legal tug-of-war.
Yeah, the whole conflict really boils down to this one question. Are these event contracts a new kind of financial trading that should be regulated by the federal government? Or are they just a sneaky, high-tech version of illegal gambling that should be controlled or even banned by the states?
In one corner, you've got the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. They're a federal agency, and they've basically given Kalshi the green light, saying, yep, this looks like a legit contract market to us. But in the other corner, you have a whole army of state attorneys general who are screaming, no way, this is just illegal gambling dressed up to look like finance.
And that opposition is no joke. We're talking about 39 state attorneys general who have all signed on to a legal brief arguing that platforms like Kalshi are illegal. This is a nationwide showdown.
So, who's winning? Well, that's the thing. Nobody is. The courts are all over the place. A federal court in New Jersey sided with the feds, but then courts in Nevada, Massachusetts, and Maryland all sided with the states. The ground is literally shifting under this industry's feet, and there's a huge appeal hearing coming up on April 16th that could change the entire game.
So, what does this all mean for you and the money you won? It means you're basically sailing in uncharted waters, in a landscape that is totally unsettled, where the rules of the game could literally change overnight.
Let's just boil this down to the key takeaways. First, what you owe in taxes is a total wild card that depends on the app you used. Second, the very legality of these prediction markets is being fought over in court right now. Third, the IRS hasn't said a word, but you know they will eventually. And finally, remember that a single court ruling could completely upend this entire industry.
And that really leaves us with one big final question. Technology and finance are moving at the speed of light, creating these incredibly clever new ways to speculate on literally anything. But can our laws and our tax code, which move at a snail's pace, ever hope to keep up? It's a question that's going to define a lot more than just the future of betting. Thanks for tuning in.